And hello, everyone. Welcome to your local Cowboy radio broadcast. This one is going to be an exceptionally important discussion today, as I've been thinking more on the matter of energy and feel the need to bring certain points of view into a more mainstream reference. Now, specifically, I want to go over the producing and then storing of energy on a small scale, as in something we could do for a small community or a single home, of which there's a vast variety of different instruments and techniques for doing nowadays. Whether it's solar, wind, or hydro, there's something out there for you. Solar is now at $1 a watt. You can buy all sorts of do-it-yourself kits for wind turbines online. Hydro is fantastic, but that does require some sort of moving body of water. If you have that, you can really set yourself up. But starting with solar, well, it's basically useless in cloudy weather, and in the winter you have to be sure to keep it clear of snow. The advancements I've seen really help make up for those factors. Efficiency has climbed in the past years, and is nowadays I believe sitting somewhere around 22% for the better models. The percentage being based off how much solar radiation is actually being converted into usable electric flow. Anyway, this means that the standard panels that used to produce 250 watts are now capable of producing up to 370 watts, meaning you're getting more bang for your buck. As an even cooler advancement is that involving solar skin. Now, unfortunately, no, this isn't some sort of new age synthetic skin to turn us all into cyborgs, but rather it's solar panels that are designed to blend in with the house, taking the form of roof tiles, or I even saw Michigan State University was working on Windows solar panels. Pretty cool. Even batteries, which are the biggest crutch when it comes to renewables, are starting to be brought up to speed. We can see what that future might look like with the Tesla Powerwall, essentially a backup generator that can store excess solar energy in case of emergencies. A seemingly simple thing, yet such an important advancement, it's hard to comprehend. Another important thing that I've personally been ranting about since 2015 even, which still hasn't seemed to have penetrated into the mainstream, is solar roads. Something fairly simple and easy to implement, yet avoided like the plague by localities. Most likely due to initial costs, but let me explain. What I'm talking about here are hexagonal-shaped blocks with photovoltaic panels that can link up with each other. They're only about 1 to 2 feet in diameter, so you need a lot of them, but when they connect, they can collectively gather energy for nearby towns. The tops are made of recycled glass, designed to offer as much traction as would be traditional pavement, and in some models have even been fixed with LEDs, which could light up in case of any road obstruction or could be used to display instructions for drivers. They're also able to heat up, melting any snow that might be covering them, or even pass energy onto electric vehicles, really bringing into view Elon Musk's vision of the future. This is just one of the now many designs for solar roads. There's also companies using clear cement mixture to pour over the panels to offer more durability when they're being driven on, which is good for trucks on highways. So even if we just start with bike paths and sidewalks, I feel that this is something a lot of cities can benefit from. Even when we start seeing the crisis, especially when we start seeing the energy crisis really kick off, which it's coming, folks. The last thing you want is to be stuck on a grid where if the other side goes out, you can lose yours as well. We're already hearing reports that the Chinese potentially caused a shutdown to the Indian power grid, setting a rather dangerous precedent, considering all the recent cyber attacks and weaknesses that have been leaked about the United States. This shows that decentralized systems, though potentially less efficient, tend to be much better at adapting and securing themselves when posed with a more outside threat. In this day and age, being able to change quickly with the game is more important than ever. Energy being one of the most essential aspects of that. Our electrical grids are not designed to withstand physical attacks, much less unpredictable weather. Look at what just happened to Texas. The people who installed the grid didn't take into account 100-year storms, much less a 1,000-year storm. We can see clearly what happened. Statewide power outages in the middle of a polar vortex. Not a great situation. We can expect events like this to become more common as the climate continues to change and as our economic and political systems continue to erode. This is why I believe the individual should take on more responsibility of producing their own power. You never know when the public grid will shut down and you're stuck with no heat or air. So now jumping over to the wind side of things, I personally really enjoy the concept of wind energy, though I can recognize some of the faults it may have. To start, wind isn't going to work for everyone everywhere. It's very location dependent, and in a lot of situations it probably wouldn't even be worth bothering with, though if you can manage to find a way to make it work, it can be a great benefit, especially if you're just using it to, say, power a well, or for food production. Every little bit helps in terms of conserving energy. Costs aren't relatively bad either, especially if you want to take into consideration future savings. A top-of-the-line 1500 watt turbine costs between $1,500 and $2,000, so on its own it's not too bad, though you'll also need batteries, an inverter, meters, etc. So generally, unless you've got the cash to throw down, most people get into renewables in incremental steps. Also, preferably, you'll eventually want multiple sources from which you can pull energy from. Same as how you should diversify your investments. That applies to energy as well. You're not always going to have wind or sun, but usually you'll have at least one of the two. These are referred to as hybrid systems, utilizing more than one source of power, and they're already being used around the world. Ranchers, farmers, preppers, and off-gridders have been enjoying this kind of freedom for quite a while now, and with technology coming along, it's now possible for even inexperienced individuals to make this a reality for themselves. With the magnitude of tutorials and explanations online, you'll need very little actual help to install these systems. Definitely have someone who knows what they're doing come check out the property at least, because every situation is different, and if you're not experienced with do-it-yourself projects, it might not be a good idea to jump into the deep end. So, with hydro, I have seen a few miniaturized generators, some small enough to even be brought along on off-grid excursions. Though most require a relatively large infrastructure investment, and this kind of idea can be even more location-specific because you need a flowing body of water, preferably on some sort of incline. The idea in general is to reroute some of that water off course, and it's what you could call your powerhouse, where all the hydro generators would be. From there, you just drain the water back into the river further downstream. Now, keeping in mind, if you want more energy, you'll need not only bigger generators, but also an increased amount of water pressure, and the more you increase that scale, the more you'll affect the environment. So a lot of things need to be taken into consideration before designing a plan that works for you. The most promising small-scale hydro that I've seen to date has to be the turbulent turbines. They're small scale, ranging from between 15 kilowatts to 150 kilowatts, so that translates to 15,000 watts and 150,000 watts, and they're showing incredible results from where they've already been built. The idea is to take a section of a river and force it into a vortex, where the bottom, a propeller, is spun to generate the power. It's so simple, yet the ones I've seen have been built to be incredibly durable, to withstand major flooding, and they not only allow small fish to pass through unharmed, but they won't cause any flooding to occur upstream. So very environmental as well. The best part has got to be the price, ranging from 75,000 to 90,000 euros, because every site will be different, so the range will vary. So for a device that would be able to power up to 30 average homes, we're talking about a 3,000 average price per household. So definitely give their website a look. I'll be sure to leave that down below. Now, unfortunately, here in the United States, our government is a fan of building large, centralized power stations, whether that be solar, wind, hydro, or even standard coal and oil. They want control over a commodity that's become essential for our modern way of life, simply so they can give the companies that stuff their gullet a state-sanctioned monopoly. The lack of concern is astounding, and it's about time we start taking control. The technology is there, the materials are there, but do people have the stomach for that kind of mission? Have we become so complacent that we cannot see the inevitable obvious wave that is approaching? We really are a bunch of summer children witnessing the first snowfall, aren't we? So, here on Cowboy Radio, we'll continue to be the voice of reason, because I can see the hope on the horizon, but it's going to be a climb to get there. But we'll climb together. Anyway, that's all for now, folks. Have yourself a pleasant evening, and we'll see you on the next Cowboy Radio. Peace.